Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I am your host, the Salty Nerd. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Netflix TV show Warrior Nun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody that you guys can join our Patreon. Go to saltynerdclub.com. You can get access to all kinds of exclusive content from show notes going forward into the new months and content and some exclusive podcasts that only Patreons get to listen to, which is some of our best work, if I'm going to be honest with you. And stickers, t-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. So go to saltynerdclub.com. What's that? Pictures. Oh yeah, behind the scenes pictures. We don't really have much bloopers. I have bloopers on the list of things you can get, but we leave our bloopers.
The bloopers will
they just stay in. So
yeah.
or the ones that you cut out will get us banned.
Yeah.
Mostly me.
When we get too dirty.
Anyway, go to saltynerdclub.com and help support the podcast. All right, let's get started. Warrior Nun. Jude, you picked this TV show. Is that correct?
Did I?
No, I think we all
actually-
kind of did.
Yeah.
I think we went, what's on Netflix this week?
Yeah.
Warrior Nun.
I sent you guys the preview for it, and I was like, is anybody into this? And we all kind of collectively agreed
Yeah, okay.
that we would give it a go.
I went, Buffy and Habits.
Yeah.
And Matt goes, don't say Buffy.
Well, Vader called it Buffy Nuns, which I think is
like,
kind
Jude will
of...
get mad at you.
There was
It's like, well,
Well,
okay.
no, that got me excited about it because I love Buffy, and this was supposed to be the new Buffy, and I was like, I don't believe it, but if it is, like, I'm stoked to watch it because I love Buffy.
The trailer made it look very Buffy-ish.
This was not.
No.
there was like not a lot of fighting in this movie or in this show. Anyway, let's set the stage. Matthew Kadish, why don't you tell us what Warrior Nun is all about, and then we'll discuss it.
It's about a nun who's a warrior.
There we go. All right.
No, so basically, after waking up in a morgue, an orphan teenage girl discovers that she now possesses superpowers as the chosen halo bearer for a secret sect of demon-hunting nuns.
What an awesome concept.
It's a really awesome concept.
Yeah, it's based off of the comic book character Warrior Nun Ariella by writer Ben Dunn. And it was optioned and adapted to a Netflix series by Simon Barry, who worked on another sci-fi show that I absolutely hated, which was called Continuum, which I felt was very unevenly written and boring and confusing because it was about time travel. But basically, the Netflix series is a very kind of loose adaptation of the comic book. I think... Barry was quoted at a convention called FreakCon that they merely use the mythology of the comic book universe to tell their story rather than attempt to do a direct adaptation. And also the comic book, it's very kind of manga inspired. So like you have these nuns in like Sailor Moon outfits where like their boobs are hanging out and like they're showing a lot of leg and midriff and stuff like that. And
totally not nun friendly.
Yeah, so he's like in 2019, women can't be represented this way. So like basically, they toned down the sexuality of the comic, but they also toned down a lot of the Christian elements of it.
Yeah,
and,
I was expecting this to be way more Catholic.
And
than it was.
they made it a lot more of a kind of skeptical take on the Catholic mythology, which the comic book has gotten a lot of criticism because it's very much like steeped in Catholic mythology, and they're just like, yeah, like these characters believe in God and they believe in morality and they do these things, and people are like that's racist.
Yeah, this show, like, it did not stay true to that whole mythology of
it was like it wouldn't
Catholic
commit to any one
Catholicism.
thing.
Like it just brushed off like a joke. The people who were like supposed to be steeped in this religion are like, nah.
Yeah.
It felt very cheap to me. I don't really have any like major complaints. I'm definitely not the demographic for this show. I don't really like pseudo supernatural, Catholic Church demons and angels fighting. It's not really my bag.
I like that part.
I'm not into
Yeah.
it.
See, I feel like I am the demographic for this show, and I loathed it.
Loathed it? Like you hated the show?
I hated it.
I didn't really have any complaints other than it's just not really something that I would normally watch.
It felt a lot more Shadowhunters than Buffy.
Okay, I don't know what Shadowhunters is, but
The
Yeah.
Mortal Instruments, City of Bones.
But I just like the main character herself. I felt she was kind of likable, not so much.
Ava.
Yeah, not so much in like oh, she's a monster hunter, demon hunter, or like crazy warrior, but just like as a person, I felt she was pretty likable. I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed more of her character, like mingling with her new friends that she got at this mansion. Like that whole scene, it was a very like young adult, like romantic comedy kind of thing. And I was like, okay.
In the comic book, the main character in the comic book is Sister Shannon Masters, and she's the one who dies in the first episode. Who's the Halo bearer?
And 5 minutes. And
basically, in the comic book, it's the Halo doesn't exist. Like that was something they invented for the show. In the comic book, it's more of a Buffy / like Last Airbender type thing where
you just become the chosen one.
Yeah, every generation, this warrior nun Ariella, who's named after this Valkyrie who turned away from her pagan beliefs and became an angel because she believed in Jesus. She's kind of like this angel that gets reincarnated every generation. And so the latest one is Sister Shannon Masters, and she's kind of the main character of the comic book. But for the show, they decided to kind of kill her off and start off with like a totally new character who's this character Ava, who starts the show. She's a
paraplegic.
She's a quadriplegic.
Quadriplegic, that's right.
So
yeah.
she's basically, she
Bedridden.
can't move from the neck down. She's her mother died and they couldn't find any other family members for her. So they put her in this like nunnery / orphanage type thing where they had like this kind of sadistic nun who
She
took
just gets
care of her.
abused.
Abused her and basically ends up killing her. And so like she starts off the show dead. And while she's kind of being taken care of in this kind of Catholic morgue, these warrior nuns come in. They're being chased by, you don't know who, but their leader who has like basically Sister Shannon Masters, who has this halo of power in her that allows her to like see demons and stuff like that and gives her all these powers. Like she's been mortally wounded by a special metal that doesn't allow her to heal. Divinium. Thank you.
Rhymes with divine.
Yeah. And
So stupid.
and so like they take the halo out of her to try to hide it as these bad guys are breaking in. And the nun who has the halo, the only place that she knows to hide it is in the body of this dead girl. So she puts the halo in Ava's back, and it resurrects her. And like she comes back to life, and she all of a sudden has these powers, and she can walk. And she's in the middle of this thing where like guys are running in and killing people, and so she just runs away. And this becomes a theme in this 10-episode series where basically the main character spends every episode running away from stuff and not dealing with it, and it was very frustrating. Like I think Jude and I told her we're going to give this show 5 episodes. And the first half of this series, the first 5 episodes of the season, are terribly boring.
Oh my God.
So slow.
And end up not mattering for the rest of the series.
Yeah, they introduce characters and storylines that go absolutely nowhere, and they just kind of drop them after like a certain point.
They just disappear.
How many freaking plot twists and like character betrayals are in this show? Those are like 4 or 5 times.
She falls in love with a boy, and then we never see him again.
Yeah, his name's JC, Jesus Christ. She falls in love with him. Throughout the course of the first,
she finds Jesus.
Throughout the course of the first 5 episodes, she falls in love with this guy JC, and he's kind of like he's a member of this group of like squatting teenage backpackers. They're just going through Europe. They find these rich houses that people aren't living in currently, and they just squat in them for a little while.
Like steal the clothes and the food.
And then they like clean it up, and then they leave. And
they hire professional cleaners to come in and clean it all up and leave them a note and say, hey, thanks for letting us crash at your pad.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's a whole group of these guys, and Ava kind of falls in with them because she decides to go swimming in their pool one morning, and then she realizes that she was a quadriplegic her whole life and didn't know how to swim after she jumps in.
Yeah.
So she's drowning. So JC jumps in and saves her.
And that's how they meet.
And this starts a recurring theme of him like having to save her butt.
It was love at first
after
rescue.
doing stupid stuff. And so she's never kissed a boy or anything like that before. So she's like totally into this guy. And his friends, he's got 2 female friends with him who are like part of this squatting crew. And they're like kind of giving her advice on like fashion, and like they're becoming her friend, like her first actual friends.
Like total young adult.
Yeah. And after episode 3, they're just gone. They just, you never see these characters again. And then after episode 5, JC sees a demon show up, and
he just bails.
well, no, she runs away and leaves him with Shotgun Mary, and who's another character, and JC is like, "What did I just see?" And Shotgun Mary's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then like that's the last time you see JC. Like for the latter half of this season, like this love interest that they spent 5 episodes building up, just gone,
disappeared.
Don't even mention him again.
It's like brand new show.
Yeah. And then she and Shotgun Mary just go like hiking.
I like that
for
Shotgun
another
Mary.
episode.
Oh yeah, the whole episode they're just like walking. Oh,
they're just walking in the mountains.
I did laugh out loud when Ava was sitting on the edge of the cliff, and Shotgun Mary just comes up and drops kick her off the cliff. As she's falling, she lands and goes, "Ugh," and she goes, "You bitch!"
I loved how Shotgun Mary in that episode, like that was the episode that started to turn the season for me because that's when the show started to get good. Shotgun Mary just is kind of like over Ava's like teenagery, and just like doesn't put up with her bullshit anymore, and just starts like just being real with her. So like she'll mess her up, she'll like punch her, throw her off a cliff, then feed her some hard truths, and she's like, "Man, I'm not even trying to save you anymore." And so Ava's like, "What do you mean you're not trying to save me?" So Ava starts following her around. And then like learning about like the warrior nun stuff. But it's funny because in episode 3, so by episode 3, the Order of the Cuneiform Sword, which I believe cruciform sword, is the
it's a chintzy looking sword that they had too.
It wasn't it?
It was very chintzy looking.
But that's the name of the warrior nun order. So the warrior nuns are teamed up with magician priests, I think they're called. And they're basically this group, this secret group within the Catholic Church whose sole job is to fight demons.
They're basically the nun SWAT team.
I like that the priest was like a ex-Russian hitman or something. He had like tattoos all over his body and stuff.
Yeah, he was a real badass. So like,
who again like swapped sides like 3 times.
Well, you know, this whole show is like, it's nothing but getting your expectations subverted.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson would love this movie. It's like, well, this person's a bad guy. Nope, this person's a good guy. Nope, it's a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Then this character is like a real bitch, and then we're supposed to like her, and then they're a bitch again, and then we're supposed to like him again, and it's like, whose side are these people on?
It gets,
you know. And then they introduce new characters who are just you're supposed to hate, but they don't last very long, and you know, and it's just nonstop
nonsense
character introduction. And once you get attached to somebody, like half of them disappear, and it's like, okay, well, it's very convoluted. It's
and
a very
the biggest poorly
organized show.
Was the main character Ava, because she literally like doesn't want like any of these powers. So like every episode she's running away. Like by episode 3, the order catches up with her and brings her into the fold, and they start explaining stuff to her and trying to train her and she use her powers.
Turns them down.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't want any of this, and she like runs away. And so like half of the first season is just them trying to chase her down because like she doesn't want to deal with any of this stuff. And that becomes very frustrating because by episode 3, you'd think, okay, she's going to be on board. She's going to be training to use her powers. She's going to be slowly turning into the hero.
That doesn't happen until episode 8.
Yes, exactly. so like most of the season, the main character is spent just being very passive and running away. Like it's very
things happen around her.
Yes, it's very typical for a main character to refuse the call to action in a like structural story sense.
Yeah, the hero's journey.
Yeah, but that usually happens by about 10% of the story. Into 10% of the story, the hero has to make that turn to start going along and driving the action forward. And this show just refused to let that happen. And it suffered because so like you're spending a lot of time with these side characters that either get dropped or aren't very interesting. Like the whole Shotgun Mary and Lilith thing. Like on their own, they're kind of interesting characters, but like they spend like 2 episodes just beating each other up because they're trying to like get to Ava first. And it's just they're kind of like frenemies. Like they like each other. They don't want to kill each other, but they're still beating the crap out of each other. It's very weird. Yeah,
it's very forced too. Jude, we kind of talked about this a little bit. Like, kind of the demographic is kind of aiming towards you. You're a fan of Buffy the Vampire, this like paranormal angels demon fighting thing. Yeah. It's kind of like your bag.
I love Buffy. I love Supernatural. I love that shit.
So, what is it about this that made you loathe this show?
It was such an infuriating story.
Keep going. Take it away.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I think we watched this maybe a week or 2 ago. And like I had completely forgotten that I'd watched it until yesterday. I was like, what are we doing tomorrow? And I was like, oh shit.
Gotta talk about that rag.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just infuriating. Like Vader said, like the back and forth between like who you're supposed to be rooting for and like it wouldn't commit enough to what it was. Like if you're a show about warrior nuns, I want to see some kick-ass badass nuns. Like I want to see the nunchuck nun, you know?
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Like commit to it. I don't give a shit if it's fully Catholic. If you're a nun, you should be fully Catholic. But everybody was so wishy-washy and nobody committed to anything. And like the relationships between people weren't believable. I hated it. There was nothing for me to invest in.
Okay.
Yeah, and they changed a lot from the source material too. Like for instance, the character of Lilith, who's kind of like this bitchy nun, warrior nun in the show. In the comic, she's actually a demon princess from hell. And in the comic, basically, Satan rules hell, but there are all these demon factions that are, trying to dethrone him. So there's like a lot of politicking going on.
So that's a show I would have liked to see.
And I feel like they were trying to develop that in the show, but it was, again, so wishy-washy.
Well, the whole MacGuffin of the show is them trying to get into the Vatican to get the ancient bones of some angel that died thousands of years ago, but then...
Adriel.
The halo is his.
Yeah. Turns out...
He's an evil demon.
Yeah, he's not even an angel, and he's still alive.
I did not understand that switch at all.
Subverted expectations.
So
again,
it made no sense.
You might understand if you knew a little bit about the source material, though. So, like, I was talking about how...
The thing, though, is the source material, this show isn't for people who are into the source material.
Well, my point is that if the writers had actually respected the source material, this would have made a lot more sense.
Sure.
So, like the character of Lilith, for instance, in the comic book, she's a demon princess who basically decides to work with the warrior nuns so that she can kind of like get accepted back into heaven because she's a fallen angel and she wants to be an angel again. And so that's her motivation. Now, in this show, she starts off as a human. She gets dragged into hell. Yeah, she's a nun. She gets dragged into hell. And all of a sudden, she just appears out of it. And remember when we were watching, I was like, I bet she comes back and she's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And she does come back, but she's not a bad guy.
She's just got some weird powers now.
And she doesn't remember anything that happened.
Yeah.
And so, like, she's got, like, all these, like, crazy, like, demon powers.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't really know how to use them.
Again, they don't explain anything, and they don't commit to anything.
I figured that she came back and she was possessed by a demon who was on a mission. Mm-hmm. Who was using her as,
you would think that, but they never really explain it.
Yeah, they don't really explain it.
And so, Alex, you were talking about how, so basically in the show, there's this angel called Adriel who comes to Earth and grants the first warrior nun his halo. And this halo is what gives her all of her powers, and it's the thing that's been passed down from generation to generation to create new warrior nuns. And he was kind of like the consigliere of the original warrior nun. He was around to kind of like guide her and like whatever. But because he gave her his halo, he became mortal and he died. And his bones were buried deep in like the inner sanctum of the Vatican, underground.
What became the Vatican?
Yeah, in this huge vault that had like
20 foot,
13 foot stone walls on every side. So, but they discover that the burial site of the angel's bones is what's allowing demons to come into the world. It's kind of like this allows the people from hell to jump into reality.
Right.
And so in order to stop the cycle of warrior nuns and demons and people getting killed, Ava decides that she's going to go in there and return the halo to its source and close this, opening between hell and
she has to
Earth.
destroy Adriel's bones.
Yeah. So basically, the entire last half of this show is her spent kind of like training to like do this, and like they set up this big like Ocean's 11 type heist where like they have to break into the Vatican.
Ocean's 8, sir.
Yeah, and there's like this new pope that gets elected who used to be the cardinal that ran the order of the cruciform.
They're setting up the whole series as a bad guy.
And then at the very end, they're like, nope, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's just really vain.
Freaking show's infuriating.
So but as a side story, there's this other character named Julia Salvis, who is this like tech guru, and she's going around trying to find the Divinium metal. in order to create a portal that will lead to the afterlife so she can prove that heaven exists or the afterlife exists. And this is all because she has a child who is like sick.
I totally forgot about her.
Yeah. But she's based off of a character in the comic book named Julius Salvis, who was like the first main big bad guy that the warrior nun, Sister Shannon, has to fight. Mm-hmm. And so they gender swapped him and made him into this female character in the show.
Who's not really a bad guy in the show.
No, she has justifiable reasons for doing what she's doing.
Well, like in the show, Julius, or in the comic book, Julius Salvis leads a double life. So he's a wealthy industrialist, as you know, his front facing to the public persona, but secretly he's an arms dealing Satanist, and he and
honestly, that would have been cool.
Yeah, and he's got like an army of Nazis that he like commands and stuff. And in the comic book, he was imprisoned in the Vatican, like the angel was. Mm-hmm. And so like he breaks out and starts seeking revenge against the warrior nuns and the church. And that's basically Adriel's storyline. So they kind of took the character of Julius Salvis and separated his storyline and gave it to Adriel, who's like the angel. Because we find out that Adriel isn't actually an angel. He's something, I don't know if he's a demon or not.
I'm just lost with your synopsis of it.
Again, non-committal, wishy-washy. They won't even say what the angel is. Is he an angel? Well, I would never call me that. And I'm going back to heaven. So then you're an angel? Well, we don't say that. Oh my God.
And then he gets out and he's like,
and then it turns out
I'm a demon.
Yeah. Who the hell knows with this show?
And he looks a lot like Jesus.
He does look exactly like Jesus.
There's a lot of subversive, anti-religious rhetoric in this show.
I'm not really. I don't.
But I actually thought that the final episode where he escapes, where Adriel escapes and the warrior nuns are forced to like kind of face him.
Oh
down
my God,
with him.
the ending of this freaking show.
I actually really liked the ending. It was
me?
It was a big cliffhanger, but like it felt like the show was actually like finally getting.
Well, now we got to tune in next time to see what happens.
No, we spent 9 episodes building up to this fight, and they don't even start it. The fight never starts. You just see like the first 1 or 2 punch, and then
it's not a
credits.
good show.
It was like, show. What are you? You don't even give us the payoff of like a big fight.
It's a prequel.
Christ. Yeah, I mean that literally.
It felt like half a season. It felt like it felt like the first half.
It felt like they Walking Dead at us.
I did not need the first 5 episodes at all.
Yeah, they could have started with episode 6 and just like given us more
like
after
a mini series, like 3 episodes of this show.
Maybe in season
I'm not
2,
watching
episode
season
1.
2. I'm not watching.
Maybe JC comes back and he's really Jesus, and you know,
and then he turns out to be an evil Jesus.
No.
Well, we got to subvert. I don't care about the show. I'm not watching it again. After this podcast, I don't ever want to see Warrior Nun on my
How long have we been talking
watch
about
list.
it?
23 minutes, and that's with the introduction of us bullshitting. I don't care about this show, and I know at the beginning I said like I don't really hate this show. I was thinking more of like the first 5 episodes. The main character Ava, I found her kind of likable throughout the show, even though she kept running away and was trying to dodge her responsibilities, but. She's pretty. She's personable. She had some charm on screen. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then you guys started reminding me of all this freaking stuff that kept happening that was just so frustrating. And I'm like, wow, man, it's just not worth your time.
Yeah,
a lot of very strong women in this show.
Everybody.
There's no dudes. I mean,
no, not a single one. Well, it's warrior nuns.
Well, all the dudes end up being bad guys.
Yeah, even the good guys, even the good
like
dudes.
Father Peterson.
If you're not just disappeared randomly in the middle of the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's called Warrior Nun, and you can't have a male nun, so I don't really blame it for having a bunch of chicks doing stuff. It's what it is. It's the whole point. So I don't really care about that.
The priest is kind of like the Charlie to the angels.
Yeah, I kind of dug that vibe.
More like the Bosley.
Yeah.
I thought he was more like a Giles. What's the guy named?
Yeah, he's kind of the Giles.
I don't care
of the show.
Well, we do.
All right, then you can watch season 2.
I kind of dug the
Father Vincent. That was his name.
Yeah, I kind of dug the storyline where she, like how it begins. She's a paraplegic, and then that nun abuses her and ends up killing her, and then she comes back. She figures that out, and then she ends up like trying to save the other kid, and then just kind of like. She kills her, and then we never talk about it again. We never see that again.
I don't understand why she felt regret after doing that.
Right.
Like, I would have been completely justified.
Yeah.
Because she murdered the nun.
The nun murdered her.
Right.
But
eye for an eye.
You're still not gonna feel good about it.
I would feel.
We didn't talk about the kid, her roommate.
Yeah.
Diago?
Like
What's
she,
his name?
she came back to like
Diego?
save him.
That dude's like, he's an angel.
And
He's an angel?
He's something.
That kid that was in the
Yeah.
bed next to her?
Hell yeah. He disappeared. He shows up in the weirdest little spots, right?
No.
Isn't there some kind of like weird
I did not get
scenes
that.
where he showed up and then disappears? And
I think she was like hallucinating him.
I'm with Vader.
I think there's something more about that kid than
I think you're thinking too much about it. I don't think.
I'm not thinking about it at all.
Now Julia Salva's kid, he runs through the portal at the end.
Yeah.
And he disappears, and he's got like all that divinium in his blood.
Oh, he's gonna like. Oh, I did like that. He started glowing when the nun walked around. That was kind of like.
Well, he was near the halo.
He's basically like a super.
Yeah.
The halo's like a divinium magnet.
Yeah.
Let's do weird stuff.
It's the elf, the elven sword that glows around goblins.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just.
You know what the show reminded me of was the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and remember
Oh, that movie.
I felt-
that show is just straight up satanic.
Well,
I felt
I love it.
similarly frustrated watching that.
yeah, like it wasn't a well written show, but for some reason it got like a lot of like fan attention, like people like flipped out over it.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is almost like similar in the sense that there are people out there who are going to love this show for no good reason.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't deserve any type of fanfare or affection because it's not a well done show.
No, I'll be shocked if actually is a season 2.
Oh, they've already confirmed a season 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
It's got a cool name.
I think they were able to do this show actually pretty cheap because like they didn't have like a lot of like good special effects or action scenes or whatever.
You never heard of any of the actors, so they're not paying them very much.
I didn't think the demon looked that bad as far as like CGI goes.
Oh, I thought he
I
was
thought
terrible.
the whole thing with the halo was lame.
It was
Like it gives you superpowers,
but it has to
be recharged,
Yeah.
and it takes 7 minutes to recharge. It's just
I think
why?
I think that was just for her, wasn't it? Just because she was so new.
No.
Nope.
No, that's like a thing.
It's like if you use too much of its power, it needs time to recharge.
It's a halo from an angel, and you gotta plug it in for 7 minutes.
Well,
if
we are
use
not
it.
familiar.
It's so stupid.
We are not familiar with Halo, the ins and outs of Halo wearing. So it might have a USB plug or something on it.
Final thoughts on this movie or this TV show.
1-star crap fest.
1-star crap fest. I would not suggest anybody watch it. We spoiled it for you. That's all you need to know.
I'm giving it a 1.5 stars.
a half a star? What's the half a star for?
Well, Vader, like, didn't you like this show for the most part?
I didn't hate it as much as you guys did.
I liked Shotgun Mary. And I like her name now
She was
too.
cool.
That's a
You
cool
didn't
name.
pick up that her name was Shotgun Mary?
No, I thought that's not something you guys came up with.
No, that's her name.
No, that's her actual
They
character.
said it in every episode.
They say it every episode she's in.
She carries around shotguns.
Yeah,
she's not a nun.
That's why
She's
they
not
call me
ordained.
Shotgun Mary. She literally says that.
That was a line in the show. Oh, I missed it. I heard they were calling her Mary. I never get the shotgun part.
Alex is just like, oh,
I was waiting for her to be like a direct descendant of like Jesus or something.
Probably eventually.
Well, like she's actually a very important character from the comic book too.
Well, she got the most. I think she was probably one of the best characters
Also,
in the show.
you remember the lesbian nun?
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on like this is not going off of Catholic law whatsoever.
Right.
Like these nuns don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that character that was interesting was like, so she knows she's a lesbian, and she's like, but I'm denying that because my love of God is greater than
You telling me there's no like lesbian nuns in the real world? They just take a vow of chastity and move along with their lives.
Sure, I guess. I don't know.
But like her backstory in the show was like her parents sent her to the nunnery to try to keep her from being a lesbian. And she ends up like embracing the fact that, she loves God and she loves her sisters and she wants to devote herself to, this greater good. And so she denies her urges to be a lesbian.
You're a parent who's upset that your daughter is attracted to other women, so you send her to an exclusively female organization.
To a nunnery. Get thee to a nunnery.
Get the fuck out of here. I'm done talking about this show. And
same.
I don't know why you guys find that so hard to believe.
Final thoughts around the table. What do we got, Vader? Or did you say yours already? I can't remember.
1.5 star crap fest.
That's right. Yeah, 1.5 stars.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. It had its moments. I like the little subversive digs at Catholicism every once in a while.
You do like that stuff.
I'm not a religious guy.
No, I get it. I'm not, especially not like straight up Orthodox Catholic. I'm not either. But
I'm waiting for some show to come out that just like skewers the Pentecostal world. I'll be all over that. Right. So,
Jude, what about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you, Vader. I'm not a religious person. I don't even believe in organized religion, but like I just wanted it to commit to something. And if you're going to have a story about warrior nuns, I really wanted the commitment of that so I can get behind that and invest in the story. And I didn't get that at all. And I thought that the whole show was bullshit.
All right.
Hated it.
Kadish?
I feel like the show had a lot of potential. Like I really wanted it to be a new Buffy. I wanted to have that kind of Scooby Gang like mentality to it, where you have this core group of main characters who are all kind of like quick-witted and play off of each other really well, and they're fighting these increasingly like dangerous supernatural threats. Yeah. And I felt like it could have been that. It had the potential to be that, and they just dropped the ball.
It probably still could be that.
It could, like the ending of the show.
I mean, the nuns that did the heist break-in at the end, that's your core group.
Yeah. And if you develop those characters more, and we because like by the final episode, I felt like the show had hit its stride, and it kind of knew what it was going to do. Like the first half of the season felt like they were trying to figure out what they were doing with the show. It almost felt like it was written by completely different people than the second half of the season. And so like, I was into it by the final episode. I wanted to see that battle with Adriel and see what happened and see the group come together and, basically defeat the big bad and see what's good. Because they set up all these mysteries that they didn't pay off in this season.
Right.
So I kind of want to know what happens, but at the same time, I'm like, why didn't you do this in the first half of the season?
I swear to God, when season 2 comes out and you tell us, hey guys, season 2 is actually really good, we should watch it. I'm gonna be like, you mother.
I do wonder where that kid ended up when he walked through that portal.
Season 2.
Yeah, they left a lot of plot threads hanging.
Yeah.
It was definitely a cliffhanger ending. And I would recommend that people watch the first episode and then skip right to episode 5.
Yeah.
Because you really don't need to watch episodes 2 through 4.
I think it could be salvaged.
Watch episode 1.
I do.
I agree. Yeah.
Watch episode 1 to get to know the main character, and then skip from 1 to like 5, maybe even 6.
Yeah.
6.
And go from there.
I think it needs a bigger budget. The
Needs better writers.
The desktop CGI demon, terrible.
The floating red smoke.
It looks like one of those demons where you download a special effects app on your phone and you open it up in your camera and it puts it in there automatically.
Exactly
it felt like that. Yeah. But I feel like this show has a lot of potential, especially considering that, the source material is a comic that's been going for 20 years and has like a lot of fan base and like a lot of, well-told storylines. I feel like this show could be really good, except that the guy running it seems to be a real fuck up.
Imagine what's going to happen when the Cowboy Bebop show they're making is on this level.
The what?
The
what
Cowboy
show?
Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop.
I don't know what that is.
So Cowboy Bebop is a anime that is very popular,
Hugely
and
popular.
they're turning it into a live action Netflix show.
Me and Jude are giving each other like side eye, like what the hell are they talking about?
It's about space bounty hunters. You'd really like it.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
You should watch it.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Cowboy. That's the name of their ship. Is Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
And it's about this motley group of bounty hunters who just go around the galaxy and get into adventures, and it's super crazy and fucked up and awesome.
I mean, if I was
Rated R version of Firefly?
if I was a fan of this,
Well, Firefly was inspired by it.
All right then.
if I was a fan of this warrior nun, what's it called?
Yeah.
Warrior Nun Ariella.
Yeah, and this is what I got. I'd probably be upset right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like they completely killed the main character in the first episode. Main character of the comic.
Yeah. I think the only thing that they kept was the name Warrior Nun.
Well, they didn't even keep the full name.
Right.
It was Warrior Nun Ariella.
They
But
killed
like,
Ariel.
Now it's warrior nun Ava.
yeah, like when you have a show called Warrior Nun, you're just like, show us some Warrior Nuns.
I was expecting Warrior Nun.
Show us nuns.
Well, we
kicking
got
butt.
some.
We got some.
got a few.
They're just on the wrong side.
Yeah, like
They got the asshole nuns, those high school dropout nuns that were actually the badasses.
Yeah.
All right.
The guy who show runs this show. What's his name again? He did Continuum.
Didn't we say his name at the beginning of the show?
We did, or at least I did. I can't remember. Simon Barry, that's his name. Like he wrote the first episode, and he wrote the last 2 episodes, and I felt like those were like the strongest episodes of the show. But if he was overseeing all the other episodes, like he really dropped the ball on those.
Just phoned it in.
And his whole thing about like just using the comic as a jumping off point to completely redo the story just doesn't make any sense to me, unless there were like licensing or rights issues or something like that. But it just felt like it's another example of a Hollywood elitist who's like, I'm going to put my stamp on this beloved
franchise,
source material. And then like he just completely screws it up, like it felt like that. So I'm willing to give this show another watch, like when the second season comes out, but I was not impressed with the first season. I feel like the later half of it was pretty good. It got better. But the first half of it was just a mess.
Okay.
Agree.
All right, everybody, that's our Warrior Nun spoiler talk. Thanks for joining us. If you guys would like to support the podcast and help us watch more terrible Netflix shows, you can go to saltynerdclub.com. It takes you to our Patreon page.
We watch it so you don't have to.
And you can help us there. You can get some cool merch. You can get some stickers, T-shirts. You can also get access to our exclusive Patreon podcasts, which is, like I said at the beginning of the show, some of our best work. So go check it out. We have a ton of fun doing those shows for our patrons.
And if you join the Patreon, you can tell us what you want us to watch.
Yeah, so you can be like, please don't watch Geely or Warrior Nun. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Have a great night. Going around the table before we leave, Matthew Kadish, where can they find you on the socials?
At Matthew Kadish, Kadish, and kadishbooks.com.
And Jude, where can they find you?
At I am Jude Juju on the socials.
Matt Vader?
You can find me at MattVader74 on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Working really hard on getting that Twitch channel up and going. Got a couple, I'm an affiliate now, got a couple subs, getting some bits thrown at me. I'm really working hard on that. So,
nice, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Come over and say hi.
As soon as I pull the trigger on that new internet that I'm supposed to be getting, I'll be on that same train trying to get the Twitch affiliate stuff.
Cool.
All right, guys. I am the Salty Nerd. You can follow me on Twitter at salty_nerd. Talk movies and conspiracy theories and all kinds of other crazy stuff. Dinosaurs, mostly, though. All right. Have a great night.